I am essentially going to have to freehand this with the block of walnut for a guide so that I can keep the grain parallel to the edge. We'll see how it goes. Well, that worked pretty good, so let's see how close we got. 365. 355. 365. So that's close enough. I need these to be 5/16, so that's 3125. 312.5 thousandths. I need to clean the bottom of this so it's a lot straighter. I'll run it across the joiner when it gets close. Right now that won't work. That's straight enough to run across the joiner. It'll just take a couple of passes. Now I'll get that angle off, or some of it. This is the piece of spruce that I'm going to use for the small fan braces or finger braces beside the X brace. And there was a fair bulge in this. I needed it flattened and straightened and level. And I didn't have a good way of holding this to do it by hand. I could have sanded it, but this is longer than my stationary belt sander. So I decided to do it this way. And it's kind of sketchy. I don't recommend doing this, but it worked, and so I thought I would video and show what I did. Y'all can hammer me if you want, but it worked. These two pieces are for the X brace, and I want them to finish out in the center at 9/16 of an inch. So I cut them at 5/8 and I'll run them through the drum sander to get them equal. And they are tapered at the end, but that doesn't matter because I'm going to taper them anyway, and more than that. So, and these are perfectly quarter sawn. I don't know if you can see that, if the camera will pick it up, but that's perfectly quarter sawn. I'm ready to cut and shape and glue these X braces, but I need to make sure the angle I've picked is 100 degrees. And I don't have a good way to measure 100 degrees other than a protractor. Simple protractor. And that would work. I can draw the lines, but I think I'm going to make a temporary template using this 1/2" Baltic birch, or 12mm Baltic birch. And that will let me line everything up. And if I like the way everything works out, I'll cut a full-size plexiglass or acrylic template. And that'll work much better. So let's go to the CNC and cut this out. The V-bit was zeroed off the top. The 1/8" bit is zeroed off of the spoil board. That's going to bore all the holes to hold the template in place. You would think that'd be hot, but it's not. Okay, now let's do some serious cutting. Oh. Nope, I better put screws in there first. Well, at least I didn't break the bit. Slight miscalculation on that, my part. I wonder what the bit looks like. Still looks good. Got a little nick in it right there. I bet it'll still work just fine. Ordinarily I would not do this, but my thinner glue dried up, and I have some super thin Star Bond, but it's too thin, so this is going to have to work. I don't want to epoxy it or yellow glue. So this will work just fine. This is temporary anyway. That'll work. So I'll come back in a little while and put this one on when I can pull these screws out. Okay, that's a plan. May not be the best one, but it's a plan. I'll come back in a few minutes and take it off. So I'll clean up these fuzzies and that ought to work. Cool, go from there. Okay, got the template on and it is perfectly lined up and matches what I had drawn earlier. So I think this is going to work for a temporary template. I'll just scribe a line on these and cut these with my razor saw. I'm going to try this with this knot bolt clamped down. The only vise I've got that really holds this well is not a good camera position, so I'll try this and hopefully this will work. I am staying just inside the line. This saw sure does cut good. I think this is sharp. I haven't sharpened it in a while, but we'll find out. Well, that only took a minute to fix, so now these fit together nicely and they fit in here acceptably. Joints good and tight, no gaps. Good. So I didn't realize that my vise was not smooth and it dug into these braces. You can kind of see them. Well, I don't want that to be there, so I'm going to steam those out. Not too bad. Okay, I'll come back in a while and see how that does. I'm ready to sand the radius on this X-brace. I use a 28-foot radius for the top, and I've got several choices. I've got some 60 grit that I used before on the previous guitar. I've got some 80 grit that I'll have to cut to shape, and then I've got the conveyor belt that came off of my drum sander, and this is conveniently 100 grit. So now I have to decide which one to use, and I'm thinking that I want to use the 80 grit. 60 grit just seems a little bit coarse to me. It clearly will work, but I think I like the 80 grit. 100 grit seems like I'll have to sand for quite a while. 80 grit seems like that will work, and if it's not quite smooth enough, it'll be easy enough to touch it up by hand. But that also means that I have two different radius dishes. So if I use the 80 grit on this 28 foot, then that leaves the 60 grit or the 100 grit for what I use on the back. But since it's only 4 braces and they're fairly simple, I think I'll use the 60 grit on the radius dish for the back. And then I can start sanding. I'll save the sanding of this for the next video, and probably even putting this on. I'll use the 3M spray adhesive, and that'll work just fine. Okay. Thank you.